Was Hurricane Katrina really as bad as everything that people are depicting in these documentaries and series? I just want to give a different perspective. After watching the documentary yesterday, the series on Netflix, man, it really pulled me back and pulled on my heartstrings so bad I wasn't able to sleep last night. I had a slight headache and my heart was just aching. It pulled me back to when I, I evacuated. With my dad, we evacuated to Texas. But watching it on TV and the way they were saying these people are looting, thugs, and just seeing my people depicted in such a negative light. I was only 11 years old, so me seeing that, it was like a reflection of who I am, where I come from, my identity of how I seen myself. And I started to feel like, damn, the nation see me like that, like they have nothing. They never gonna be nothing. They take enough space. Why they so poor? Now, in New Orleans, I didn't grow up poor. Like, I grew up middle class family. But prior to Hurricane Katrina, my mama and daddy wasn't rich. My parents just separated, like maybe a year, two, maybe 3 years before the hurricane happened, and we starting all over. My mama, we don't live in the nice house in a nice neighborhood no more. We living in the ninth ward with some family. Move out the ninth ward to this little rundown apartment complex in the east. My dad is the ultimate go-getter businessman, but he wasn't doing too well financially. And we just had Hurricane, what was that, Ivan? I think that was Ivan, or Gustav, can't remember. It was one of them hurricanes that came before, and we just evacuated for it. So we didn't have a whole lot of money. My daddy like, dang, like we really gotta go. I don't have nothing stacked up. I don't really. And this was 20 years ago. I was only 11, so my memory a little faint around there. But I know right before Katrina, I don't remember if it was right after, my daddy found like $20,000 under the bathtub in the house he was renovating. I believe that was the money he got right before Katrina. Yeah, because he bought a house and renovated it for my grandmother right before. And I'm not sure. He probably spent most of that money. Probably an investor. I don't know. I can't remember all that. But I know at the time of Katrina, when we got out there, we was barely getting to Texas. We really just left because they was like, it's Mando, y'all can't stay. Anyway, I don't want to talk through the whole year or what happened at the time when Hurricane Katrina happened. Of course, we was all displaced. Of course, we was all torn. Of course, we in foreign places where they treated us like aliens. Can't say all of that was bad. A lot of people helped us. I was in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, in Gwinnett County. And we were living better than we lived in New Orleans. That was the first introduction to, dang, this, you can live like this? And they think this living bad? Like, this y'all housing development out here? this how nice all the apartment complexes are. Like this is on the average basis, and that just started opening my eyes. Like, dang, the world is so much bigger than little New Orleans. So I'm gonna run y'all back on what I'm contrasting Gwinnett County and New Orleans. New Orleans pre-Katrina. I told y'all I grew up in a middle class household. I went to private school most of my life. But that didn't hide what was surrounding me in the city, the energy, the people. Some of the most treacherous, cutthroat mentality people live in New Orleans, and we have some of the most talented, heartfelt people that live in the city. But I'm used to seeing super fair. Growing up as a little girl, one of my earliest memories of a tragedy was when a young man at the super fair leaving with my mom and my dad, and he just got domed by meaning murdered. Or maybe I shouldn't say that on YouTube, but by an older guy. Growing up in New Orleans, bro, it was so much violence. The energy in the air was just thick. No matter where you went, it was just not gangs, but just man on man violence. Remember people shooting at each other on I-10, and it could have been my environment too. I went to private school, but I still had grandparents living parts of the city that wasn't the best. But I'm not gonna act like pre-Katrina New Orleans was not terrible. It was up there. Now we had some good memories. Family was closer. You had black-owned corner stores, Miss Jackie, Mr. Pete. In the ninth ward across the canal, I forget the old gentleman name, had the corner store in the ninth ward. Most of my family lived around each other. It was more community. But in fact, it was a lot of chaos. Malfamine Project, Callio Project was Lil Haiti was a third world country. So I say all this to say that after Hurricane Katrina, I started thinking, dang, I think this storm was probably the best thing ever happened. Now, it was a tragedy for those people who lost their lives and people who couldn't get out the city. Those people who was huddled up and treated like cattle, placed inside the Superdome. Those people whose houses was used as refuge to just flood them out to save the wealthier neighborhoods. All these things were such tragedies, but it was an incident. Let's just say it was inevitable. There's always a blessing inside of the devastation. There's always a blessing after the storm. And the blessing after the storm was New Orleans had a chance to be reconstructed. I remember walking into the city after the hurricane, and that thick air I spoke of, being in the city, it was gone. It was like we had a chance to bring something new. We wanted the culture to come back. We wanted the music, the Indians. We wanted Super Sunday, Mardi Gras. We want all this back. But we want the reformation, the reform. And I remember feeling that feeling of reformation, of reformation after the storm for about 3-4 years. And my mom, when she sent me back to school, I went to school uptown on Valen Street. I went to Samuel J. Green. And that's when I got familiar with a different side of New Orleans, a different young people with a different mind frame, a different mentality. And I started to feel where the mentality of all I have is how tough I am, how mean I am, how gangster I could be as a value. That's the only thing some people seeing value in themselves. My family wasn't rich by a long shot. My dad was a contractor, my mama was a hairdresser. We had some night I never went without. But man, I go to school and these kids really would say, "Your mom, I know your daddy a drug dealer. I know your people. Man, who your daddy is? I'll rob your daddy." And I'm just like, wow. The little I have, these kids not even used to seeing. So I started seeing myself more of an image of with them and feeling like, dang, why my people think like that? Why we feel like we can't have? Why they feel like life's so hard? Why they don't see good for themselves? Like, why they don't see better? Why they don't want more? Like, why is evil and violence first choice at all times? And then I started to realize, I started digging more like, dang, La Alta Mama is on drugs. She a heroin addict. This girl mama gave her up for adoption. She in the system. Damn, this young man right here been introduced to drugs and his such and such in jail. And of course I felt grateful for my family and what I had, but my family was the minority of what most black people in New Orleans, you know, like able to take care of their family. The majority was those people that you seen at the Superdome. The majority was those people living in the projects. And then it made me go back even further to be like, damn, why was it an attack on us, these drugs? Why would we even do this to each other, sell drugs to each other? Then I started that feeling sorry for us and like, well, we got every excuse in the world to be like this. And I have a father I thank God for so much, because my dad could have easily chose the path to be like, it's hard. I just gotta do what I gotta do. But he always been an innovative thinker. But so many black men in New Orleans still choose, and this is not everybody, to not take initiative and climb that hurdle. We wound up in the system. And to see the way that it's curated, for people to walk down that path. I'll never forget, my mom told me when my little brother was in elementary school, and he was in, I think we were in Metairie. He was going to school in Metairie. And She called the school board because they was trying to keep him back. And the guy told her, listen, don't go and put your son in school in New Orleans. Keep him out here in Metairie. The best thing that could happen for him is he stay out here and just stay back this grade. If he go to New Orleans, all they breeding our children to be is oyster shuckers, work in a restaurant, hospitality industry, or to be in jail. That's the only two choices young men got out there in New Orleans. And as a little girl, my mom was saying that, and it stuck with me. People in New Orleans are really seen as cattle. And it's not just black people in New Orleans. This is mostly everywhere in America. And this is not a mentality of being a victim, because once you know better, you do better. Once you take the initiative to just go through the hard and not just choose what's cut out for you and carved out for you, you could do better. You could go ahead and conquer your life's purpose. But I remember thinking, like, Katrina, the best thing happened for us. We got a new house, and we got some money. They giving us road home money. A lot of that stuff put people on if they used it right. I know my family was put in a different situation, and it might sound a little selfish, but New Orleans was run down. Our school systems had been being taken advantage of. There was a big grant that came to the city. Some big funding came to New Orleans that was supposed to go to the school board, public schools. That money went into the Superdome. That money went to the Superdome. And New Orleans is a majority black place. It's so rich in culture, so rich in heritage, so rich in spirit. But there's just some things there that make it inevitable for the city to never change. It may be contrary to some people's belief, but culture is a gift and a curse. The culture says we drink all day, every day is the big easy. You do what you want, and we live by it, die by it. But doing what you want to come at a cost. You could buy alcohol any time of day and go out. When you plan in Babylon, when you plan with spirits, you are susceptible to a lot of things that come with it. So will New Orleans ever change? Not even the strongest hurricane could wash clean the sins of New Orleans. Not even the strongest hurricane could reform and wipe away, blow away all of the debris. It's 20 years later. I no longer live in New Orleans. I miss it so much. I miss the people. I miss the how you doing. But when somebody say how you doing, you feel it. You could be in Cajun's, Captain Sal's just getting some crawfish, and we're gonna start a full-blown conversation with each other about the smallest thing. But it's genuine conversation. That's not something that I get here in Dallas. But I learned to stop looking for that in Dallas. New Orleans is special because of that. So I think at this moment, like, is it time to call it that we accept New Orleans for who she is. Keep her rich in spirit, but keep her poor in morals. Keep her rich in culture, but keep her poor with black love and self-love.